Hi, everybody. Good morning. Everybody say good morning. Yeah, that sounds good. So, who did party yesterday? Nice. Who had more than 4 beers? All right, good. I had to. But anyways, my name is Inon Zur. I am behind the music for the Fallout series, as well as Dragon Age series, Prince of Persia series, Crisis, and kind of boring small titles. And basically today I wanted to sort of like bring you with me on a little journey. And in the beginning I was talking to Bethesda, who are the publisher, and they were totally, absolutely against my talk, because I am revealing in this talk some of our sort of like secret techniques for the soundtrack for Fallout, but I was able to convince them, because I think it's extremely important to know the process that we as composers are going through, are working, you know, in our day-to-day basis, but more than anything else, what we called how do we create a signature sound. You heard the theme for Fallout, but let's try to see, you know, when I was approached to do the Fallout game, the first thing we talked about with a producer was like, I want to create something that is fresh, that is new, that is original, and that will be sort of like the language for Fallout. So it's like, all right, good luck. No pressure, right? And I'm starting to think, okay, so first let's try to think, what is originality? What is something that is original? And I got to this notion that original is something new or something surprising that is being played inside a very familiar premise or familiar cue. So let's say that, you know, there is a strings orchestra playing, and suddenly the solo is being played by a kazoo. Well, there you go, a little original sound there. You know, it sounds stupid, but it will make you listen to it. It's sort of like an ear candy, okay? And more than anything else, after you created this sort of like original factor inside the known premise, then the next thing is like, you need to make a signature. How do you make a signature? You repeat it. And then you repeat it one more. And then repeat it many times until not only they will get familiar with this, but they'll start to like it or hate it, but they will get connected with it, and it will become the signature of this game. So I was like, all right, cool, this is pretty smooth, and let's move on, and we'll see. Fallout. As you know, Fallout is a post-apocalyptic game, and everything is ruined, okay? I assume that also most of the synthesizers, strings instruments, everything is ruined. What is not ruined? Our mind. And we have music in our soul, and we have music here, and we need to create it. So how would you create it? You take elements that are there, thrown in the area, and you make music out of it. In my case, I started my junkyard. And my junkyard is this. And this is the first, actually I think you are the first audience that hear this cue. This is the very first cue I wrote. It was in early 2013 for Fallout 4. And basically, I first will play the cue and then I'll explain a little bit. and you get the idea. This is me in a very bad day, hammering and really torturing my personal piano. Only that. And the elements that I use is basically banging on the piano, bowing the strings, taking like a fishing rod cable and sort of like playing the strings like this, do everything to a piano, and voila. It is very percussive. It sounds music, right? So we are inside a known premise of music. It has a meter. It's 4/4 or something, but it's not made, in like a familiar way. It's even made on a piano, but there is no one real note that is playing on the key of the piano. So there is your original factor within the known premise. And if you're in composition, and if you are an audio director, or if you just like music, you got to think inside this, point of view of like, all right, so we took everything that people know about music, and the only thing that we changed is how we approach the actual playing. And there you go. This is basically to demonstrate the originality, okay? Then there's something else. Here's the next cue. And the next cue is, let's take a known instrument, cello, and let's make a dual or sort of like a duet with a foghorn of sheep. Foghorn. So we have piano, cello, and a foghorn. And that's what gives Fallout really its real color. The other idea is actually surprising the audience. So let's take everything. We know everything. Here we had foghorn. Forget about foghorn. I just feel like, writing music with synthesizers and stuff, okay? But let's do something else. Like in music, we have rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And even if you're not a musician and you play a game, okay, you sort of like, you hear the music and you get into the music and you know the beat. And if you know the beat, you know where is 1. Well, let's write everything, with, legit instruments, but hide the 1. Now, if you're a musician, try to find 1 here. Now it feels like 3. But you're still really not sure where the hell is 1. It's kind of cool. Actually, 1 is here. Now. And now 1 is here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is where it's now. You don't really know. You don't notice it. It's all continuous. And suddenly, it changes. So this is another technique of basically doing everything right, doing everything basically by the rules, except with a little thing. Either hammering a piano, or hiding one, or doing one thing, only one thing, that is a little different, and then you got this sort of like signature and surprising. So, we did that. But then comes the regular Joe Schmo, usually producers that really want to sell their game, and says like, wait a second. Why the hell we need originality? Why the hell we need anything new and original? People really like something they really know. And we are trying to tell them, yes, but we respect our audience. We respect the players, and one of the things that is so amazing about video game industry is we always try to think a little bit outside the box. This is what I personally like about, because I did a lot of music for TV and movies, but nowhere, anywhere else, I was basically given the creative freedom, okay? I think that striving for the originality, striving for thinking outside the box is really what is making our industry so great. And just to prove it to you, today, the music that is played as far as like in concert, okay, way more than music for TV or films is music for games. Music for games became the mainstream of concerts right now. And the reason is that we as composers are being stretched to the limit with our producers to create something new. But you have to understand, and this is our next rule of originality, never cross the 20% of your original material. When you introduce any element, it cannot occupy more than 15 to 20% out of the whole queue. Because if you're doing something more than that, even if you will be 50% original, you are losing the connection with your audience. Say bye-bye. They will turn you off. And you know how they do it. It's really easy. Okay? So, first and foremost, you have to be communicative. You have to connect to the player, and then only 20%, 15% put your big original idea, your ear candy, and then it's going to be great. So, we got to this. Now, the producer from Fallout says like, okay, so, I mean, we created our musical style, we created our designated musical palette, we are doing all the designing, but the most important thing that we have to understand, we are artists, we are composers, but we have to understand that the project that we're writing for is the most important thing. We think that we're good, we think that we have lots of great ideas. We want to serve the game first. So let the producer tell you, okay, this is what I need. And you might create something that is genius, but if it doesn't work with the game, forget it. Throw it to the trash. Not good at all. Let me give you some more examples. And here, Fallout is a parallel reality. Fallout basically ended in 1954 or 53 and started again in 2017. There, between this year to this year, became a total parallel reality. So, we need to create something that will show that, hey, we are not in our reality anymore. the way to do it is to use sounds that could be familiar but are made of different instruments. What you hear right now is a couple of vases being bowed in my living room. I'm also playing on this, and also I'm myself blowing into sort of like a pipe that you might find in a junkyard after a bomb blew out. Sounds like Fallout, but why? Because it's music, but it's music that is made by a made-off instruments. And this is what's so cool about the Fallout universe, that not only you get to write your own music, you get also to create your own instruments. Go to junkyard, go to your backyard, heck, you know, cry, laugh, do everything, and create the music from this. Sort of cool. Or, in this next cue, take the orchestra and play it in an untraditional way. Listen to the brass. They don't play one real note. They just scream into their instruments. Basically what they're doing is playing into the French horn and doing like this. Through the French horn. Kind of cool shit. Another example. This is a percussive cue that all made of basically 2 oil jugs and some metallic metals that I found. Now, the cool thing about it is, again, the rhythmical patterns are really known. Everything is known. It's here. But you create it with total different instruments. And when you play Fallout, it just really falls in the right place because everything is so out there. These are people. This is a desert. But the rest is like, what the hell is it? And lastly, you basically combine weird soundscapes. Here, for example, I recorded string quartet in my studio, and then basically I had them play really, really high, like the highest like harmonics, and then took it and modulated it 2 octaves down. So it's freaky. But this is what I was looking for. I was looking for these kind of like freakish sounds. Now, what about harmony? Okay? And harmonic structure is also something that is very, very important for us. Okay? But we treat them the same way. You know, we're not going to play C to G to A minor to E minor. We use chord, but we're going to use chord in a little different ways. And in Fallout, it sounds like this. first, everything is totally detuned. And you play detuned instruments with tuned instruments together. So what being created is something really freaking weird. Because the bells are totally detuned and the piano is tuned. Together sounds a little bit out of this world. And out of this world is what we're looking for. Simple, but not what you expect. Harmony, but not what you expect. We're just going to a freaking bizarre places. But still, intervals and thirds and fourths and fifths and everything. But you combine it with the tunes, fifth and third and fourth, and you get the full out sound. By the way, the strings here are being layered by both guitars. So basically you have strings playing with both, but also guitars, really acoustic guitars, being doubled with this. You hear that? The thing? Now you can hear it really good. So, a group of strings played. And that's the solo of a bowed guitar above the strings instrument. All bowed guitars with strings. But forget about it. Let's just go to the fun part. Behold, my orchestra. This are chairs. Thank you. This is my garden table. My son's car ran out of oil. I had to buy that. So, but then it's just there. Here's our famous vase. This is music stand. Here's my poor piano, but that's the before picture. I didn't want to show you the after picture. It's kind of cruel. This is a ocarina that actually the person who brought me this ocarina sits here in this audience. His name is NG Zur. He's a great composer, and every time he's going all over the world, he's bringing me musical instruments. This is one of his gifts. It's like, okay, I can play it. I can play it. You will hear in a second. And also, Daddy brought me that also. This is like a Chinese flute. And again, let's see if I could play it. Oh, and here is my famous guitar with a bow. And just one thing, I suck at all. Really, I don't know how to play these things. So, I call this portion do it yourself. So, we talked about the ocarina, right? The ocarina that Daddy brought me. Here it is. I am playing it. Listen to it. Ouch. But here is it in a cue. Take it, lower it 12 notes and octaves first, create a pad out of it, and then bring it. Here it is. Suddenly becomes cool. Because it is so raw, it is so bizarre, but see how you connect it? If somebody professional would have played it, it would have been beautiful, but not Fallout. In Fallout, we are pioneers, we're dirty, we're rough, we're hungry, and we're definitely not let's move on. Here is, and one day I came really, really angry, and I looked at the chairs, and this is how I felt. Yep. That was 8 o'clock in the morning. Didn't sleep well. These are chairs. And here it's in the key. Lower it 1 octave down. And then bring the real sample here. And here's your chairs. Percussions? Sure. Real percussions? I don't think so. But that's a sound of fallout. How about my famous bowed guitar? The thing I really thought I could do. I really thought so. After that, I said, like my mouth, maybe not. Ouch! Like my dentist was so happy after that. Here's the other one. Said like, now I can do it. Ouch! But here is it in the cue. Again, 2 octaves lower, what you've heard. 1 octave lower. And here's what you heard in a round octave. And you combine it with other instruments, but this is the sound you're looking for. And here is it. And it's ugly, but it's magical. Because you bring violin players and they're playing with this. So you get the beauty of this desolate world of fallout on one hand, but the ugliness of this desolate. And this is how your music basically is enhancing this world of fallout. Remember that we talked about the producer wants you to create a soundscape, sound signature. You take the beauty of it, you take the ugliness of it, and you bring it together. And you are about to hear a sound that I don't think ever somebody, because I did it in my studio and I was too ashamed. So I think you're pretty much the first to hear this thing. This is me. Not only it's me singing through a didgeridoo. This is me singing through this red flute. Here's the cue. This is me. singing through this flute. But see how it works within the concept? Remember what we talked about it? 20% originality. All the concept is right except of one little thing. Last thing, I had to play it for you because this is my famous piano strangling. This is the hits, and this is the scratch. And here's the cue. Basically, did I invent these things? No, everybody is doing it. But the concept I went for was the right concept for Fallout. Post-apocalyptic, everything destroyed. People are still people, but they don't have the means and the tools and the instrument that they used to have. So if this is what they're doing on their day-to-day life, most likely this is also the music that they could create. And this is why the music for Fallout basically was successful in coexisting, supporting, and being totally immersive in the whole Fallout game. I'm going to stop right now because I really want to hear if you guys have questions. And this is the main reason why I came here today. Yes, I love to share things with you, but way more important, you know, I've been creating music for video games for the last 20 years. I've gained some experience. If there is anything you want to ask me, this is the time. Yes.
So thanks for the presentation, very interesting. I'm not a musician myself, or I'm kind of a wannabe musician, but what's the ratio between the actual instruments and samplers and stuff like that that you use in libraries versus these garden tools that you talked about? How much garden tools versus traditional samplers and stuff like that?
Great question. And it's actually was the decision that I took. And the decision that I took is actually 50-50. And the reason why is this. About 80% of it is going to be coherent. No matter what, you know, I'm going to do, it's going to have either rhythm or chord changes or something that will feel really familiar. So then I could use about 50% real library synthesizers, but 50% bring stuff that I'm just making up. And I really found after, you know, making a lot of experiments that this is working really great. So thank you. It's a really good question. Yep.
Yeah, hello.
Mm-hmm.
First off, I want to start by thanking you for a great talk. I know this is a sort of a sensitive topic, so I want to start by with a small disclaimer that I think what you're doing here is really awesome, and I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer to this question. But how do you consider, or do you take into consideration issues of cultural appropriation when you use instruments from certain cultures that might have been repressed, for example, didgeridoos from Aborigines and etc.? Is that something you think about in your compositions?
Next, really awesome questions. Guys, wow. I mean, I'm speaking a lot of talks, and You guys hit me with two really, really great questions that I think nobody asked me before. Great question. And here's my answer to it. I don't give a damn. And the reason is this. The reason is that I could play didgeridoo, but you will never know that it's a didgeridoo because we're not in this world. I just use my didgeridoo as a pipe. And if it has some qualifications and something that is really, really special, you will never know. I don't use it as something that is coming from places. I could use a bouzouki. I could use a duduk. I could use a darbuka. I could use taiko drums. I will never play them the way they were intended to be played. So it's a great question. You understand why? Because, you know, you totally make the distinction between where these instruments were invented, but the way you're using them is so different. So thank you. Cool. Next. Yes. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah, you could start.
So I've been writing video game reviews for the last 15 years, and I always pay attention to music. And I noticed a pattern of some sort that there is this thing that usually when you play you don't hear music, and that's when you give good scores to sound, actually. Because when you hear it, it's only two occasions, when it's like perfect and when it's bad. So when you compose, do you think about it, and how do you balance things? So
Totally. And again, great question. So here's the deal. There are two principles that I always take into consideration. For music for games, you never need to hear it. You need to feel it. If you hear the music in the game, that means that it's not well connected and immersed in the game. The Fallout music, if you play Fallout, you don't really hear the music, but it's there. It's part of the experience. And if I was successful or make you feel the music and not hear the music, I won. This is the first thing. The second thing is this. We always say when you watch movies, when you watch TV, you basically lean backward and watching. When you play video games, you lean forward. Same thing with music for video games, okay? You create something that even if you don't hear it, you're not going to sit back and relax with this. You will always lean forward and feel it as part of the experience. And again, if you, and I'm not saying that I'm always successful. Maybe I'm successful maybe 20 to 30% of the time doing it. But this is my ideal music for game. You feel it, you don't hear it, and you lean forward to basically embrace the excitement and the stress and the magic of the game. Yeah, next.
So, as a producer or a designer, when communicating with your composer, what are kind of must-do things in communication when trying to convey feelings and so on?
Yeah, that's a touchy point. I don't know if you've heard the name Todd Howard. He is the producer and writer and basically creator of Skyrim and Elder Scroll and all the Fallouts and everything. He's amazing. But this dude has one problem. He knows exactly what he wants, and he will never let you off the hook until you got what he wanted, and he doesn't care. Fallout 4 theme is actually version 29. I swear. So, it's this time that you really want to strangle Todd and tell him, like, leave me alone. I have a life. Yeah. So, producers, good producers, not only will know exactly what they want, but they will also know how to extract it from the people, from the composers that they are working. And this is basically what separates Todd from the crowd. Not only he really knows what he wants to hear, but also he knew quite well how to beat the shit out of me and extract these ideas from me. And I really want to thank him for that, because working as a composer in the video game industry, you will never be able to succeed if you're not going to know that you're part of a team and the producer is your commander, and you basically need to follow with your inspiration and ideas. You still follow orders. I hope that's answered the question. Yes.
Hi. You talked about joining the project in 2013. Maybe you could talk a little bit about how you worked in pre-production and like with the rest of the team, and especially the Fallout 4 theme and how that came together with the trailers and everything like that.
So let me tell you a little secret, and I hope nobody will sue me for that. But one of the reasons why the games of Bethesda are so successful is they understand that games basically are growing all together. Many games that I'm doing are basically being brought to the picture when the game is almost done or close to be done, more of the movie style. Bethesda understand that you need to grow with the project. So when I've been brought to Fallout 4, it was beginning of 2013. There was no Fallout 4, nothing. There was some ideas and some drawing, and they told me start writing music to this story, and I start writing the music. And then they took the music and they played it to their artists and designers, and they told them draw. So basically we went back and forth between all the people, story writers, composers, producers, artists. Everybody worked together and grew together, and we made the adjustments. So I wrote something, and some artist said, this piano sound that you use really doesn't fit here. I don't feel that it's really fit to this world that I'm drawing. And I said, okay, so how about I'll change the piano sound? So we're growing together. It is a long and painful process. But in the end, you really get a project that it all basically coming together because it's growing together. Yes. You gotta go up out there where the microphone is dwelling.
It comes surely down again. I have a question about, I didn't hear any vocals in your samples. Do you use vocals, or why do you don't use them?
Oh, I'm using lots of vocals, and I actually, I don't know if I have examples, but actually, I will use anything that will enhance what needs to be done. So for example, the only vocal I use, like in one of the Fallout expansions, I use two singers to sing sort of like a melody, or I use my own song, okay? Vocal is part of my, ensemble, okay? But I'm not going to use vocals because I can, or I need, or because it's cool. I will use vocal if it really calls for. For example, in Dragon Age 1 and Dragon Age 2, if you're familiar with the soundtracks, there is lots of songs and lots of vocals and stuff. It was really fitting. In Fallout, it's like, well, damn, these guys are too busy fighting or surviving and stuff. Like, who wants to sing? I don't think a lot of people. If, they're really tired in the end of the day, they'll bang some chairs, maybe. So you got to be connected to the story. Yeah, next question. No more time? Oh, okay. Well, thank you so much for being here. You're an amazing audience. And feel free to contact me. I mean, you could go on my website. There is email. I love to hear from people. You could also have a conversation with me after this. I'm available all the time. And in fact, I'm here to meet people. So feel free to attack me at any point. I'm here and I'll try to help. Thank you.